It's not a game, it's a race.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Dallas City of Learning Summer Soars program presented to you by the Writers Garret. I am Miss Erin, your instructor. For today's activity, you're going to need your writer's booklet. So if you haven't done the Make Your Own Writer's Booklet activity, you need to make sure you do that first. You're also going to need a pencil, some scissors, a glue stick or a stapler, and some construction paper. So make sure you have all that before we start. Today, we're going to be poets. I know what you're thinking. In school, poetry can be intimidating. All that rhyming, all those old-timey words, all those rules, it can feel overwhelming and boring. The good news is that poetry doesn't have to be complicated, and it definitely doesn't have to be boring. Most poetry written by people today is in free verse, meaning it avoids meter and rhyme and instead expresses its ideas using other tools. Meter, by the way, refers to the pattern of syllables in a poem, like in a haiku. We live in an amazing time where poetry is everywhere. Poets like Rupi Kaur, Rudy Francisco, Kaveh Akbar, Andrea Gibson, and Dinez Smith use YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter to create a space where poetry can speak to what happens in the world right now. They talk about family, relationships, about gender, about injustice, and about connections. They remind us that poetry is for everybody. Today, we're going to focus on poetry written by people who are still alive today, who use regular everyday words to get us thinking in a new way. Pop quiz. We're going to take a short quiz to get familiar with some important ideas in poetry. This will be easy and there is no score. I'll ask a question and you decide which word describes what I'm talking about. You'll have 5 seconds and then I'll give you the answer. Easy, right? Here we go. A group of lines in a poem, much like a paragraph in an essay, is called a stanza. Using the same word, phrase, line, or stanza 2 or more times in a poem is called repetition. The main idea, topic, or subject of a poem is called a theme. A piece of writing, often using rhythm, rhyme, and other tools to express an idea, feelings, or a story, is called a poem. A single row of words in a poem is called a line. Language used to create mental pictures and cause emotions in the reader is called imagery. A comparison between 2 unlike things, usually using like, as, or than, is called a simile. A kind of poem that avoids using rhymes and meter is a poem written in free verse. When a thing is described as being something else to show sameness between the two, it's called a metaphor. So, how'd you do? Now let's take a look at a few examples. I'll read the poem aloud. You can either follow along on the screen or close your eyes and listen. Then we'll take a short look at how the poem uses poetic devices, which are what you just identified in the pop quiz. First, let's take a look at an untitled poem by Rupi Kaur. It is a blessing to be the color of earth. Do you know how often flowers confuse me for home? Now this is obviously a short poem. It's only 1 stanza, but can you identify which poetic devices are present? I see imagery in her description of her skin, the color of earth. I also see metaphor when she says that flowers confuse her for home. This imagery builds on the metaphor that she uses. Let's look at Rhythm by Margarita Engel. Rhythm by Margarita Engel. Mad has decided to catch a vulture, the biggest bird she can find. She is so determined and so inventive that by stringing together a rickety trap of ropes and sticks, she creates a puzzling structure that just might be clever enough to trick a buzzard. Once the trap's baited with leftover pork from supper, Mad and I used to do everything together. But now I need a project all my own. So I roam the green fields finding bones. The skull of a wild boar, the jawbone of a mule. Older cousins show me how to shake the mule's quijada, to make the blunt teeth rattle. Guitars, drums, gourds, sticks, a cowbell, a washboard. Pretty soon, we have a whole orchestra. On Cuban farms, even death can turn into music. The stanzas are all different lengths. The poem feels almost like a conversation. What poetic devices did the poet use? When I read the poem, I get a whole lot of imagery, from the rickety trap of ropes and sticks, to roaming the green fields, to the list of items that make up the orchestra. I also see a pretty big metaphor. Do you see it? It's right there at the end. Even death can turn into music. Now let's look at Don't Go Into the Library by Alberto Rios. The library is dangerous. Don't go in. If you do, you know what will happen. It's like a pet store or a bakery. Every single time you'll come out of there holding something in your arms. Those novels with their big eyes and those no-nonsense all muscle. Greyhounds and Dobermans, all nonfiction and business. Cuddly when they're young, but then the first page is turned. The donut scene of it all. Knowledge, the aroma of coffee being made. In all those books, something for everyone. The deli offerings of civilization itself. The library is the book of books. It's concrete and wood and glass covers. Keeping with them the very big, very long story of everything. The library is dangerous, full of answers. If you go inside, you may not come out the same person who went in. This is a longer poem with 12 stanzas and bigger, more complex ideas. Which poetic devices do you see? There's repetition. The library is dangerous appears at the beginning of the poem and then again at the end. There are metaphors all over this poem. Greyhounds and Dobermans are compared to nonfiction books. The library is compared to many things, including stores, a deli, even a book. Knowledge is compared with the aroma of coffee. Answers are compared with things you might take away from a shop. There's also plenty of imagery. What's your favorite image in the poem? I think the image of cuddly greyhounds is pretty fun. And can you find the simile? That's right, it's in the second stanza, comparing the library to the bakery or a pet store. Now we're going to make a place for you to keep poems you find or write, and we're going to attach it to your writer's booklet so that you can keep all your work together. Take a piece of construction paper and fold it in half. Cut along the fold to create 2 equal-sized half sheets of paper. Step 2. Line up the seam of your booklet along the edge of one piece of construction paper. With a pencil, trace the outline of the booklet on the paper. Step 3. Cut along the line you traced, creating a piece of paper the same size as the back of your booklet. Step 4. Glue or tape the piece of paper you cut out onto the inside of the back cover of your booklet. Be sure to only attach it on 3 sides so that you can put papers inside of the pocket you've created. Step 5. Decorate it however you want. Your poetry pocket is now ready to be filled. Bye now. you should be finished decorating your poetry pocket. Here is mine. I decorated it with a rainbow because I love colors. And I also decided to put my name on it because I love my name. And hearts because I love hearts. So now what you're gonna do is take the other half of the piece of construction paper you just used and write a poem on it about your favorite season. Do you love the feel of a cold winter wind on your face? The taste of warm apple cider in the fall? The dazzle of blooming flowers in spring? The sound of the beach in summer? Try to use at least one simile, one metaphor, and one image. And feel free to use more if you want. Spring is my favorite season. Let me read you what I wrote. Spring is a brand new gift set down on winter's doorstep. The grass is emerald green. The days are longer. The sky is a Caribbean sea. The birds are out chirping. The springtime is like a refreshing dip in a pool. Spring is a brand new gift. Your poetry pocket is a great place to stash the poem you just wrote. You can also put your paint card poetry in here as well, if you've already completed that activity. You can write poems and place them inside, or if you hear a poem you like, you can print it out and keep a copy just for you. I hope you enjoyed learning about poetic devices and making your poetry pocket. Thanks so much for joining me. See you later.